going to share 5 books that feels like spring to me personally, and I think you should definitely read these because these are one of my favorite books. And even though some of them are not really my favorite, I do think that you can definitely read this for spring and enjoy this as much as I did. I will be starting off this list by a book that I constantly read. Like, I have read this for like 5 to 6 times so far now, and I read this like once or twice every single year, and this is one of my favorites of all time, and I definitely do feel like this book deserves so much love, and it's worth it. It's just so worth it. That is none other than The Little Prince. The Little Prince is a book that is about friendship, that is about love, that is about self-discovery in the cusp of adulthood, and it's such a beautiful book. It's written in such a beautiful manner. This is a children's classic, and for the children's classic to be this good is definitely something that I didn't feel like it was even possible, but I definitely did enjoy this quite a bit. I love the commentary on adulthood, and even though you don't want to be grown up, and how grown-ups lack the imagination, and how it kind of explores the idea that our author is definitely scared of adulthood, and is something that we all resonate with, because once in our lifetime we do experience such a feeling when we do not feel like growing up. Like, we feel we are growing up pretty soon, and it's just not something that we want at all. So this book really touched my heart, and every time that I read it, I feel like the meaning changes behind it. This is such an important book personally for me, and I will definitely recommend you to read this book. And I have really tapped it like a lot, so you can definitely understand how much I love this book. But this book is such a spring vibe because of the themes that are explored in the book, and that is the only sole reason why I am recommending you to read this as well. The next book that on my list is actually a romance book that is better than movies. It follows our main character who is obsessed with rom-coms because she used to watch it with her mom, but her mom died, and she always has dreamed of having her own romantic comedy in her life, and she thinks of it as a sign when her childhood crush Michael's come into play. But things are really different now, so she takes the help of her neighbor who also goes to the same school as her and Michael. She takes up his help to impress Michael, and they start to fake date so that she can grab the attention of Michael, but it kind of does not work out that way. It has been marketed as enemies to lovers. However, I do feel like this book is more leaning towards fake dating. Personally, I did not feel like this was my kind of book. This is not something that I typically read, but I have known a lot of people who have loved this book, and I can see it because it does have like a healthy relationship aspect to it. So I think people like it because of that. I mean, a lot of people enjoy this book, and I will definitely want you to give this book a try as well. The reason I picked up this book was because of our main character Liz. She is such a character who is really always dressed up in florals and all kind of pretty cute spring dresses. So I think that that was the theme around the book. The next book I would like to talk about is A Coat of Thorns and Roses. This is a romance YA fantasy. I think this book has been everywhere since it was published, and everybody has read this book or have been talking about it ever since. I really liked the first 2 books. I will not talk about the last couple of installments, but I did enjoy the first 2 books a lot. This book specifically, A Coat of Thorns and Roses, takes place in a fairyland, and especially in the spring court, in this specific book. That is the reason why I decided to put it here. So this book follows our main character Farah. She kind of ventures into the fairyland. She has been taken into captive by the beast that roams in the fairyland. Humans and the fays have to be, I think, segregated. So that was the story where it picked up, and I fairly enjoyed the first 2 books, and I think this fits the theme of spring very well because spring coat. The next book that I would like to talk about is actually a book that I have talked about quite a lot on my channel, and even though I think this fits into the category of fall reads, I also think that this also fits in the category of spring, and that is none other than House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. Again, a book that I absolutely love. This is about three sisters who were found naked on the street after they disappeared for a month, and creepy things happens around them, and it's like a very creepy, spooky and fairy tale-esque story. So the three sisters have kind of magical powers to them. The story kicks off when one of the sisters disappears again in the present timeline. The other sisters are trying to figure out what happened to their sister and discover some things about them. And that is all I will say about this book. But this book is also so good. I love it. I love the writing. I loved the story. I loved how unsettling that this book was and how it made me feel like my skin was crawling, and it was so good. But it was also so beautifully written that I could not put it down, even though it was so unsettling for me to read. I loved the characters. It was just perfect. I just love this book so much. And the last book that I would like to talk about is Felix Ever After. I mean, just look at the cover. It's definitely spring. I think it's been a while since I read this book, so if I put anything wrong, please let me know. But I think this book follows a transgender character, and I think he is someone who is struggling with his identity, and this story kicks off when someone tries to dead name him. I think someone tries to put up the pictures of his before his transformation and everything. This is a YA fiction story, and it was written very well. This book was just so much for me. I never knew that I needed this book until I read this. This book meant something because it gave me an insight on transgender story, and I know people might not be really up to it, but I think this story was important, and I got to learn so much about this community and just the transformation and the mental pressure and the surroundings and everything. I cannot even put it into words, but this book was so good. I remember loving this book, and I remember feeling so much after finishing this book, and it was such an experience. I was so skeptical before picking this up, but it changed my perspective on the world and on the community in itself, and it was just such a heartbreaking, heartwarming and beautiful story, and one must read. Definitely pick this up if you can. So these are all the books that I would like to talk about today, and I will see you guys in the next week. If you have read any of these books, please do let me know in the comments below, or if you have any recommendations, also let me know in the comments below. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so very much for watching. Bye.